Hi everyone and welcome back to Plan First Live. I'm Sean Larkin and I'm the Manager of Design Services at Plan First Design in Auckland. We specialize in architectural, interior designing, landscape designing, interior decorating. So for any renovation or new build, you're welcome to contact us. Our details I'll put up on the screen at the end of the presentation. Today, we're going to talk about how to landscape a small backyard. A lot of people tend to focus on their house and decorating the interior of their house. I think it's important to give as much importance to the backyard. That is actually the space where you've got a bit of privacy, outdoor privacy, and you can make it your own sanctuary. If you look at the steps that you would follow if you wanted to start planning or designing a backyard. Firstly, have a look. What do you want to use it for? And we'll go through all of these steps one by one. But importantly, what do you want to use it for? Have you got children? Do you entertain a lot? Do you want a pool? Are you an avid gardener? So make that decision first. Then you would plan the layout, and there we'll talk about the zones, the different zones that you could have for your backyard. Then you would choose a style. And that depends, obviously, you would want it to complement with the actual house, but also depending on how much maintenance you want to do. Then you'll have a look at the actual plants that you want to plant in the landscaped areas that you've identified. We'll look at focal points for the garden. We'll look at lighting. And then lastly, just how to make it comfortable. So let's start with deciding what you want to use it for. So there's a couple of common zones that you would look at. The first one being a relaxation zone. Second would be the dining or barbecue areas where you would have things like your outdoor kitchen, your grill, your table and chairs. And then garden space. These are for the avid gardeners. Then for the entertainers, you would look at things like fire pits, seating, lighting. There you've got an outdoor bar area, a grill. And then if you've got children, very important to have outdoor space for them. Next up, we'll have a look at planning the layout. So we're going to just have a look briefly at the zones that you would look at. The first one being the patio deck area. Now, usually this is the closest to the house. Secondly, you'd want, especially with a small backyard, you'd want some lawn space because that does make the garden feel a little bit bigger. And then you would have a look at feature areas like your fire pits, your pergolas, water features, outdoor kitchens, depending again on what you decided in step number one. Once you've done that, you're going to choose a style. Now, the style, I believe, should always reflect the actual house that you do have. So and also it should reflect the amount of time you've got to do maintenance in that garden. But style-wise, if you have a modern garden, you'd have things like ornamental grasses, a bit of lawn, straight lines, concrete. Tropical gardens, you'd have a lot of palm trees. You can try and put a bit of beach sand in. That's always a nice touch. Rustic gardens, you're going to go for things like timber, sleepers, a lot of wood, natural stone, timber furniture. The Mediterranean, you're going to go for something that's more gravel. And you can see that the house actually lends itself to a Mediterranean garden. You'd go for olive trees, terracotta pots, the lavender, that's quite useful in a Mediterranean setting. And then the cottage garden, I'd say this is most probably of the most high maintenance gardens that you would have. Lots of flowering plants, lots of color. It'll be very seasonal. To get a professional look in your garden, you would do layering of plants. So you would always go for your higher plants, for your trees at the back, and then your shrubs in front of that, and your lower ground covers in front of that, so that you've got a short, a medium, and a high. It gives you the best use of space, especially if you do have a small garden. Using vertical height for planting in small gardens is also very effective. Focal points are always a great one. If it is going to be used for entertaining, then your focal points would automatically be things like fire pits or pergolas. I do think it's very important to have some form of cover. It's very harsh to have your seating area without a cover above it. It extends the amount of days or time that you can use that outdoor area throughout the year. If it is winter and you're not in a very cold country, you can always have either the fire pit for warmth, or you do get these gas heaters that you can put outside. But it's nice psychologically as well to just have something covering you. Water features is a good one. It is nice having that soothing water sound running as well. Also, that does attract birds. Keeping in mind, we spoke about it a couple of sessions ago. Nice to attract birds and insects back into the garden. Feature trees, I like feature trees, especially if you have got a property that has got an existing feature tree. It's always good to keep it. Plan your seating maybe around a feature tree. Outdoor kitchen, that could also be a great focal area. And then garden sculptures. That's certainly a conversation point if you do have something that you want to put on display and have as a focal point. Then lighting. Now, last week we spoke about lighting. We didn't focus too much on outdoor lighting, but it is very important, especially if you have outdoor entertaining. Make sure, I'd say my number one advice on this topic would be make sure that your paths leading to your outdoor entertaining are lit up. If you do have stairs or a deck, make sure that those are lit up as well. And then what I like to do as well is put lighting within the garden itself. So you've got lighting actually shining out through the garden, through the actual flower bed, which lights up the green. It just gives it that bit of vibrancy to that space. And then make sure that it's comfortable. So it's one thing to actually do the design, implement it, have a nice garden, but then make sure you make it your own. If you are outside a lot and you like listening to music, have some outdoor speakers, or again, that water feature. Just make sure you have some kind of protection from the sun. Then you can also put rugs outside if it makes it more comfortable. Nice cushions on your couches. You know, make it a comfortable living space so that you don't sit in an uncomfortable chair. I always feel that your outdoor area should be an extension of your indoor area. But one of the questions I did get is, can a small backyard really be transformed into a functional outdoor space? And I would say yes, but the trick is do the planning first and make sure your zones are planned well. Are decks a good idea for small backyards? Yes, they are. And also what I like about decks is that it does define the area. As you break it up into your zones, let those zones, they must speak to each other, but let them also have their own identity. So a deck is a really good way to identify your dining zone or your lounge or lounging seating area. Then you would have lawn. If you have a little bit of, even a small lawn can be great for children. Can I create a modern design in a tiny backyard? Yes, you actually can use, whenever you're doing a modern design, go for straight angular lines, go for things like concrete, straight hedges. Try and stay away for organic shapes. What is the biggest mistake people make with small backyard? I think trying to cram too much into it. So be realistic about the space that you've got. Don't overcrowd with plants. So you can build that planting plan around your budget. Go for the smaller plants and accept that it will just take a little bit of time for them to grow. Before you know it, those plants will be mature. And you will have that lovely backyard that you've been wanting. How can I make my small backyard look bigger? Use things like light colored paving. Also the vertical the vertical planting is important. Just do it in those layers. Trees, if you've got one tree in that area that you can use maybe as a focal point, it immediately softens that whole area. So first and foremost, do your master plan. Make sure that everything is planned properly, designed properly, everything is in its place before you actually start implementing anything. Are you going to break it up into stages and phases? If you are going to do that, what are you going to do first? Outdoor spaces for me are as important as the indoor spaces of your home. And have that indoor-outdoor transition as well. Again, depending on how your family live, it's important to have outdoor space for children as well if you have got small children. Once your children get to the stage that they don't need the sand pits and the swings and the slide, you can always transform that space into something else and then maybe put the fire pit in that you've been wanting. So it can grow with you as your family grows. You can change it as time goes by. Next week's topic that I want to just talk about a little bit is the do's and don'ts of bathroom design. Feel free to give us a call anytime. And thanks for joining us.